Marshall Islands has launched the first on-chain universal basic income program. What? And they're using Stellar. It's a universal basic income, and they're using Stellar, distributing USDM1 bonds backed by U.S. Treasury notes and 1.2 million residents, replacing traditional cash payments. I'm not even playing. I wonder how much money they're saving by moving over to blockchain. That's not the question that most people are going to have. I have that question because that's what that looks like. Yes, UBI is a big, topic. Universal basic income, meaning that there are no jobs, right? So people need to eat, they need to live. We're not talking luxury. We're just talking bare minimum necessities. So by now you've probably heard that Stellar, one of the more prominent crypto networks out there, is being used as the rails for a new UBI that's being tested, or Universal Basic Income, for the Marshall Islands. Now this in and of itself is really interesting to me, that we are testing a UBI of any kind, and that this is the very first nation where this is actually being tested. So I dove into it, and what I found about the Marshall Islands kind of blew my mind beyond just this whole UBI situation. Because one thing they didn't teach me in the textbooks when I was a kid is that back in the day, when we were doing our nuclear testing back in the 60s and that era, one of the places that we tested our nukes was the Marshall Islands. And now we're not just talking small nukes or small tests, we're talking nukes that at sometimes were 1.8 times the size of the nuke that was dropped on Hiroshima. And what's crazy is residents actually felt the effects of these things, even though the Marshall Islands are essentially a group of 1,200 islands all around the Pacific. If you look at it on Apple Maps, you won't even see land until you zoom in. But they're essentially just all these islands spread out, yet some of them were chosen for nuclear drop sites, and not just one or two, we're talking like 60. And there's some debate in the community as to whether or not the nukes that they were testing were just to see information about the explosion itself, or whether they were actually testing to see the effects on the people locally. Because even still to this day, there are people who remember or have experiences or still have effects from nukes that were dropped back in the day. And I'm talking like there was mass cases of baby deformities when they were born. One person in particular that I saw a video about talked about how they had leg and arm pain for years and years and years and years. So this is not just like some random thing, right, where one or two people got affected. No, it was a large group of people within the vicinity. So later on, of course, in time, the U.S. realized that this was a bad idea, and they started paying reparations to the Marshall Islands. On top of giving them their independence, they were a U.S. territory. Well, now it seems that some of that reparation money is now going to be used to create this universal basic income. So what's going to happen is residents are going to receive $200 a quarter every single quarter from here forward. It was instituted just a number of days ago, and that will go directly into each resident's pocketbook. I believe there's about 80,000 residents, give or take, in the nation. So do with this information what you will. I just thought the whole situation is crazy. I highly recommend diving more into it, because these are the kinds of things they didn't teach you in the textbooks, and it blows my mind that I'm just learning about this now in my 30s. Also, on top of that little select group of people in New York who were chosen by Coinbase to attempt at some kind of UBI as well in New York, it's all starting to look really eerily weird, especially if you're one of those conspiracy people that believes that in the future they are going to have a UBI for essentially everybody.